な長が言いたいとか誰が何と言おうと正しさなんてわかんないぜ
Others, he's and she's, welcome to episode 8 of the Endless 8 Kyoto Animation podcast. I am your host, Yatta, and joining me in the cast today is Kai. As we traverse the selected works of Kyoto Animation, we have reached the end of the Endless 8.
I was about to say,
and that oxymoron.
At the end of this episode, we're going to solve the riddle and we're going to escape this podcast loop that we're in, and we're going to move on to more interesting things.
More interesting than what we're talking about today, which is love, Chunibyo, and other delusions. It's the fitting conclusion. Nothing could be more interesting than that, right?
Can I say that I really love that they didn't translate Chunibyo in the English title and just left it at Love, Chunibyo, and Other Delusions? And we'll get to it.
Yeah,
but first, we have to introduce special guest this episode.
Yes, we never come alone, and not for the final one either. Except for those times that we came alone.
That is true. We did do that.
Sounds like so dirty when I say that. Masturbatory.
I've been coming alone for a long time. No! Cut that out. That doesn't go in.
No, it's going in.
Anyway, to talk to us about Chunibyo, we have brought in special guests from the 𝓈𝒻e Սումմիտ podcast, my dear friend, Dannie.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome, Dannie, for this final installment of the Endless 8 podcast. It's been a ride.
Can we ask, I want to know this too, but just personally, like, Dannie, like, what's up with you and Kyoto Animation? You have any special affinity for this or for this show in particular? You're an anime podcast person. You've seen a couple shows.
I've seen a handful of shows. But, I mean, Chunibyo was one of those Kyoto Animation shows that I didn't really know that it was Kyoto Animation at first. And I would also say that it's one of the first Kyoto Animation shows that I've seen. Also, side note, my waveforms aren't going up. Should I be worried?
They're going up from where I can see.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure that it's I can't see mine. So I was like, oh no.
No, you're coming in pretty you're coming in pretty good on my end.
Okay. Yeah. Just making sure.
That's podcasting chops right there. She knows it coming through. She just wants to prove that she wasn't back to podcaster. And how else to prove it than to call out the waveforms?
I've been on that end where like shit just got like fucked up during editing, and like it is not a good feeling to
been there.
Like have fucked up audio. So
forget to press record. Been there.
Yeah. Or like, all of a sudden not checking in on your waveforms to see if they're still going. Like
I had a guest on a podcast recently about 𝓈𝒽𝒾𝓃𝑒 Renmei, and they do it through Discord, which is like already archaic. I couldn't believe it.
I mean, that's
Discord
how we
call.
do it. So yeah.
Well, once I discovered,
I've told you to use Zencastr before.
Yeah, once I've discovered Zencastr, it's been a game changer, because like we've all been there, but anyone who's had to be on a podcast has probably done the Discord thing, and I managed to like close Discord like 4 times during recording. I guess kept on leaving, and they're like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Stop hitting the X!" Like, it wasn't me being like a rascal, like a Dekamori style rascal. It was just me being a fucking incompetent moron. But Zencastr usually makes up our mistakes. Like, you gotta hit record, and then it's sort of like, well, it'll take care of itself. The singularity will take care of everything.
Oh, well, the AI is coming. I don't know if you know about this. This is a topic for another podcast. I've been fucking around with the chatbot all week, and boy, it's the end of everything. It's all over. It's the end of history.
The robots these days can do magical things. I remember when they made my toast.
We meme, but
it's coming for us.
Oh, absolutely. It's already here.
So, you guys are from the US, right? Like you could actually like doomsday prep for this shit, and it would be sort of like on brand for you guys as a nation. In Ireland, it's like, sure, it'll work itself out. So we only got the internet 5 minutes ago. Sure, what the fuck could happen? You know what I mean? Anyway, sure. Kyoto Animation. That's
sorry for the filibuster there.
Oh yeah, waveforms. Stop. Yeah, are you recording it with a FLAC, or is that a?
you gotta compress that. It's gonna be too large. You can't send that over Google Drive. Oh boy.
Oh man, my cheeks are gonna hurt by the end of this.
Can I tell you?
We gotta end strong, and as like tangential and as weird as it can get, would kind of be suitable for this show, right? So that's like that's the challenge. I think the most like outlandishly sort of tuny tangent wins like a cupcake or something like that.
Chunibyo.
Yeah, back to
Serious
the
face.
back
I was
to
looking
the
for a
top
way
of
to.
that
I was
thing.
looking for a way to segue it back into it, but you didn't say anything that would really get me there.
I got one.
Okay,
So,
go for it.
what do you think of pirates? Would you say the best part of a pirate is, in fact, the eye patch?
It's a segue usually has to connect on both ends.
No.
That was only one.
No, this is like it's a segue. Eye patches, they're very cool. They're very cool.
They are.
And at this time, they were very cool because of two anime, Chunibyo and Another. It was a thing there for a minute,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Don't talk to me about Another.
She had an eye patch. She literally looks like Rika, you know?
She did.
It was sort of a
It was
chicken and the egg sort of moment there for eye patches. You know, did
God,
they exist pre?
2012
Yeah,
year
it was
of
a
the
weird
eye
time.
patch, yeah.
This was also one of my first Kyoto Animation shows.
Ooh,
And
fun,
it was-
yeah.
And yeah, it
Did
was
you
one
guys
of my,
watch it in 2012?
oh, it might have been 2013. It was pretty soon after it aired.
it
Yeah,
was popular in
actually,
2013.
I mean, I watched it probably 3 or 4 years after it came out, or maybe 6.
It's a very
was-
specific number there.
I mean-
or
six.
Or
It's definitely not
6.
4 or 5.
4 and 5 are down right out.
Honestly, I like. Yeah, no, we're gonna go with like 5 years.
Well,
There you go.
I
I'll
will
give you
say
another
Lock it
number.
in. Lock it
Yeah.
in. It's fine.
that's your final answer, Danny.
That's my final answer. Yes.
I will say that I remember watching it in the late 2012 and 2013, and boy, it was popular. It was a thing. And Yada, you said before you press the record button that it was like one of the top 100 shows on Mal still to this day.
Yeah, on member favorites. I
That's
think this
so
is one of these,
crazy.
like, this is one of the shows that contributed to Kyoto Animation being Kyoto Animation. We talked about it in an episode that I was working on recently, so it's fresh in my mind. The Myriad Colors Phantom World episode. And you're talking about like the hype and the letdown of that. That was on 2016, right? And it was on the back of Chunibyo and the run that it was sort of on. Because I think Chunibyo was when they were firing on all cylinders in terms of what I wanted from Kyoto Animation. There's a story and there's emotion, but what you're really here for is the beautiful art and the lols and, you know, the memes and all that stuff. And Chunibyo is that perfect encapsulation in a lot of respects because I think it's funnier than a lot of shows in this sort of space that they were doing. If I compare it to like Tomoko Market, which is right around the time that Chunibyo came out, I thought this show was so fucking funny. Like, and I was rewatching it for this podcast. I was like, oh, was it so fucking funny though? Or was it just... And then in episode 2, I was like almost crying with laughter. Oh, I forgot. It is, in fact, so funny.
It's been a long time since I've rewatched this. This was honestly my second rewatch, and while I was watching, I'm just like, wow, this is still fucking hilarious. 𝓁𝒾𝓄𝒃 is still a fucking idiot.
Oh, okay, wait. I thought you were gonna go for a praise there. 𝓁𝒾𝓄𝒃 is...
I mean, no, like,
is like
as
best girl.
in like in a good way. Like
okay.
she's still like that childish, like
she's the moe.
She's just
the gap moe.
she's a goober. So
yes. One of my like goals in anime hobbyist collecting is to get a 𝓁𝒾𝓄𝒃 figure. Like an overly expensive. I had to take out a mortgage for it. There's like
$200.
there's like guys coming
with
to break
her
my
like
fingers.
twirling her twin tails.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
They actually twirl. Yeah.
There was a hairstyle that everybody took off in the anime space. I guess it was not as practical as it looked in the show. Having these two, like,
Yeah.
It's right up there with the boob ribbon. The
boob ribbon,
That doesn't
yeah.
really work in real life. No. I will say, back to your point on the popularity, the show is clippable. The show is shareable in these, like, you can take the fights, you can take the older sister crawling out from under her bed, and you can put that on Reddit or on Twitter or something. You can sell somebody on this show simply by showing one of these hilarious moments that the show offers.
Or just Rika bouncing her booty.
Oh, from the OP. Yes, and spinning her fingers.
And when she's
spinning her
twirling,
fingers.
when she's spinning her fingers too, yeah. With her deadpan face as she's just twirling her fingers around.
It's beautiful.
I love it.
The OP, the production values, all the stuff. It does really have some type of uniquely Kyoto Animation charm to it that can't be denied.
I think this show might be the most Kyoto Animation show.
Yes, I would probably say that. Yes.
Which is like amazing if you're really into that. Because I know it's like a lot of people like Kyoto Animation works, but they might necessarily be there for the full Kyoto Animation experience. This one is like unapologetically Kyoto Animation, for better or for worse. Like there are maybe some shortcomings shortcomings in terms of like story and stuff. In terms of the lols, oh my god.
Absolutely. There's one element that I want to bring up in regards to that, and that is this is an adaptation of a light novel by an author named 𝓈𝒾𝓃𝓄e, and this person entered the first Kyoto Animation Award contest, the writing bit that we have alluded to in a couple episodes, for when Kyoto Animation started to want to control their own intellectual properties and not be beholden to a large publishing company and splitting the profits. This was the genesis of that, and that's why this feels a little constructed, or, you know, it wasn't established as a property already, but Kyoto Animation said, well, we can take this and we can turn this and we can make this our own.
And they did.
They did.
Top 100 anime in terms of popularity at their
That's
own.
crazy to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I mean, yeah, I get it. I was there. I saw how shareable it was, and people are there for the animation in ways that I'm not, maybe. But still, I could name 100 anime that I've seen personally that I would put above this one. Not that
I think it's
it.
the thing about it is in terms of like, you got to think of it in terms of like, oh, but could I watch this with a lot of people? In terms of like, if I'm group watching this, can this hit like enough of a demographic? Because like, it's a comedy, quite explicitly a comedy, maybe not quite to the level of Nishijou is, but it's like the most straightforward comedy of all the works that we've done so far. And it's not like esoteric or like brain breaking in the way that like Haruhi could be at times. This show is really accessible. Like, you could just put in episode 9 and just watch it, right? And I think that helps. Also, I think the fact that it is.
It's
I think
pretty
the fact that Rika is also quite unique
visually
looking.
Appealing, but also all of the episodes, particularly in season 1, is pretty episodic. Like, you kind of don't need to know what's going on if you do skip to like episode 9 and stuff like that. So each episode kind of just has its own story, and it's always a different one. It doesn't like, you know, there's no like part 1 and then part 2 from part 1, and it doesn't continue that way. Probably like maybe the last 2 episodes are kind of like that, because it tells Rika's story and what's her deal and stuff like that. But overall, the whole thing is pretty episodic.
Chunibyo sort of falls into that classic anime thing where it's like, oh shit, we need to get a story together. And we have how many episodes left? You know?
So
this is kind of like Myriad Colors had the exact same problem, where you're sort of like, oh crap, we gotta make this sort of like overarching in some like respects. I thought maybe more successful than like sticking sort of cohesion than Myriad Colors was, but it almost felt like I didn't even need it, honestly. Like I could just go for like if they just stuck to like, oh, let's just do 13 episodes of, you know, Rika being, you know, Rika, and everyone sort of like bouncing off of that in their own sort of way, that might have been better, considering like how season 2 was.
Oh, did you want to talk about the rest of the Chunibyo franchise? We should mention it before I have the rest of the introduction to get through here, and that is that the Chunibyo franchise does contain a second season, which Yada has said, I have not seen, but Yada has said is not worth your time.
I think it's fucking dreadful, honestly. Okay. I will say,
I don't even remember the second season. I remember watching it.
Yeah, it's when the other Chunibyo shows up, the one with the pink hair.
Yeah.
And I think it's all based around the Kyoto school trip, if I'm not misremembering. I said I have like the critical faculties of like a puppy. And when it comes, like, I generally like everything. Like, I remember we started the Myriad Colors episode. I was like, I liked it actually, and you know, but
we had to tell you how wrong you were.
Yeah, and then you find yourself kind of explaining it at the end of it. It was a thing where it's like, yeah, I didn't like that at all, except for the fact that, you know, like 𝓁𝒾𝓄𝑒 is still 𝓁𝒾𝒃𝓄𝑒, and you know, all the characters are still the characters. So it's sort of like a baseline quality in terms of like, it's just that a lot of it was kind of like, kind of shitty, and the new Chunibyo, this pink haired character, I can't even remember her name, just I know the whole thing just didn't do it for me. I think
Satone Shikimiya,
could be,
sure.
Does she have a fake
Calls
name
herself
like Maury
Sophia Ring SP Saturn the 7th.
Yeah, the 7th. I love these names, by the way. It was like not. It was very disappointing. It was because I think at this time I had never really been like let down by Kyoto Animation as a studio in terms of like, oh, I like everything they've done so far, you know, because by the time that came out, I think it was like 2016. It might have come out, so they were still on that like. No, it was 2014. Yeah, so they were like just fucking killing it, right? At that time, and then this kind of dropped, and it was like, ooh. It looks good. It looks good.
And they always look good. And also the movie too. It has a movie sequel that's unofficially canon,
and that's much more enjoyable. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I remember I've only seen it once, but I remember it coming out at the end of it and feeling like that's what season 2 could have been.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It was a very enjoyable movie. Like, you know, it's not Liz and the Bluebird or the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. Like, it's not something you're like, oh, this is going to change everything for you. You know, it's like it's very much
a good summary. That's a good summary of Chunibyo in general.
Well, that's it, because the movie is very much Chunibyo, right? But it's not like, you know, it's not going to rock your boat in any way.
It's a popcorn food, fluffy, feel good movie. I don't know. There's some drama here, and we'll get to the character stuff later on, but. You know, this is not a show that has the high aspirations of some of the other works of Kyoto Animation. And I don't think it needs to. I think it succeeds with what it is. That's a bold statement. I don't know if you guys want to respond to that, or I'll tell them about the chibi shorts.
I kind of actually want to ask you, Kai, did you like Chunibyo?
Yeah, for the most, it's really hard when you're being a critic on the internet, because everybody wants you to either like completely blast something and or it's the best thing of all time.
Yeah,
and I am decidedly in the middle here. I thought there was some great stuff with the production values, with Rika's story. Even I like that quite a bit. And then there were just some like writing issues that really held back me connecting totally emotionally with the characters. And I didn't always love. I didn't feel like there was a lot of momentum in the show. So I came out of it being like, yeah, that was okay. That it is not Hyoka, right? It would.
Wait, what does that? What does that mean?
Oh,
what does that mean?
Hyoka.
Hyoka? I don't know. I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before that I think Hyoka is one of the worst shows I've ever seen.
And I disagree.
That blows
with
my mind, dude. That blows my mind.
Yeah, well, that's for the Hyoka episode, so you can grill me on that episode. Yeah. But I do think
that does mean rewatching Hyoka Kai, though. You're going to commit to that?
I don't know if I'm ready for that type.
It's not a Rob B12 episodes either. It's like a hearty 26, I believe.
Oh God, is it?
I think so. It's 25 or 26.
Oh jeez.
Okay, so it's not Hyoka.
But it's also, you know, not Nichijou or any of the other greatest shows in the catalog for me. It's an effective show for what it is, but it doesn't have the ambitions. And I think a lot of that ties back into like I have a joke here. Ready? It's got 2 seasons, a movie, a Christmas episode, a chibi short thingy. And it's about a manic pixie dream girl and an average guy. It could not be trying to be more Haruhi Suzumiya. It's like it screams in my mind of just like how much it is a blowback or in the wake of Haruhi, especially for the same company that just got done making Disappearance, you know, 2-3 years earlier. It's like, oh man.
I can't believe you call the Dark Flame Master an average guy, by the way. He's one of the most powerful beings in the universe.
I get you.
After reading some of the notes on your show sheet, Kai, I did read that how you mentioned it, that it's very quite characteristics of Haruhi Suzumiya. Like, after I read that, I'm like, you know, I see it. Like, I really do see it. It might not, Chunibyo may not have like your robots and aliens and time travelers or espers and all that kind of stuff, but it's the story in itself is quite imaginative in itself. So yeah, like, I can see characteristics of Haruhi.
Right, it's like the main girl has the issue that she needs to work out and the boy has to help him work it out.
Yeah.
Isn't that just the anime in like the 2010s in general anyway?
Absolutely. Well, it's all informed by Haruhi Suzumiya, and it's the Manic Pixie Dream Girl. Yes, it's a whole genre, right? It's your whole bunny girl senpais and your whatever have you now. And this is this show. Yeah, dress up darlings. Absolutely. This show is a romance too. But what I want to say about it in relation to Haruhi is that you couple it with the fact that I shared earlier about it being a light novel adaptation entered into the Kyoto Animation Award contest, and it won an honorable mention. And it's like, I just see it, if Haruhi was so massively successful and made so much money, but it made a lot of money for Kadokawa and not necessarily for Kyoto Animation. And then Kyoto Animation is saying, what can we make? What was successful? What do we have here? And then something that tastes a little like a diet soda version of Haruhi Suzumiya that they own for themselves, that they can, go crazy with and put a lot of care into it. And, it also just speaks to what I think is meaningful about the melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, and that's the writing in the original light novels and the characters. And you can go watch my shot by shot breakdown of Disappearance on my YouTube channel.
Isn't it wild though that this is actually like well, I know Mal is not the the alpha and omega of like anime sort of like demographics, but the fact that like Chunibyo is way more popular in terms of like member views than the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya.
Yeah, sure, I get you. Yeah,
like I kind of wild to me because in my mind, like if someone said which is the more popular show, I would have assumed like in Kyoto Animation terms, I would assume it was Clannad #1, and then maybe like the Melancholy, maybe Violet Evergarden, because that really felt like a sort of a thing there when it came out. But I would have had Chunibyo as like, oh shit, yeah, they made Chunibyo too. Yeah, that's somewhere in there too, but not near the top. You know what I mean? It's actually kind of wild. It's kind of wild. I can sort of see it though, like how this is just like I could see like Japan, for example, a Japanese market eating this shit up though. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I literally like so to like I know it's the 10th anniversary of around now of the Chunibyo is because I got spammed by a bunch of advertisement for it like everywhere. It's in the 7-Eleven. It's all over like my fucking like social media.
No way.
Like I was in 7-Eleven. I was like, oh
Taiwan?
shit. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm like, if it's happening here, it's probably happening there as well because there's like what the anime that's popular here is not necessarily the anime that might be very popular in the West, right?
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I guess like because it like in my experiences, KyoAni is like undoubtedly the biggest thing that Kyoto Animation have done in this side of the world in terms of like yeah. It's not even close. It's KyoAni by quite a distance. But it was like, okay, Chunibyo had a moment too, I can see it though. I said I think it's just like, it's so memeable. It's like I think it's like I know it's sort of like you can see that you can draw a lot of parallels to I was going to say Haruhi Suzumiya. I think it kind of falls into that Miss Kobayashi thing as well, where it's sort of like, oh, it kind of warms the cockle of your heart.
Scenes
yeah.
And the tone, right? I get you.
Where it's, and it's sort of like it sort of has a loose sort of timeline that it follows, where like things are progressing, like and it kind of progresses through the school year, right? That's sort of like how we kind of make it sort of feel sort of like it's following a track, but it's sort of like an irreverent bit of fun. The way I would see Miss Kobayashi Dragon Maid as well. Yeah, I don't know. Like I can see like the comparisons because it's a club anime, but that's just like what I feel like. Kind of like quirky club anime is what Kyoto Animation does. And
right.
And at this time is what everyone was doing, right?
Yeah,
like, this is not a million miles away from when supernatural battles become commonplace, or like
sure.
Toradora or whatever was coming out at that time, right? It's like, oh yeah, it's one of those, right? This is what was big at this time. You couple that with this sort of like, we'll say a diet moe blob sort of vibe. Where it's not quite like it's not quite KyoAni or Tomoko Market, but I think it's pretty close. More so than like Hyoka, for example, which was like preceding it. Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily like a bad thing to be a diet version of something, because I think this is not as extreme as Haruhi either in terms of like. Right. I think if we're including the entirety of Haruhi, like I don't think Haruhi's for everyone. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. No, I do.
I think this might be for everyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a bit more base in its taste. You know, a bit more McDonald's to your, I don't know. What's the fucking, like, finish that.
McDonald's to my,
I don't know, to your snail soup or whatever, you know? That's terrible. Milkshake, yeah.
I don't know how I feel about Haruhi being labeled as a milkshake, but
a delicious milkshake.
I get what you're saying. And I think it. I think
$5 milkshake.
Those are pretty good.
Yeah.
From a Hardee's or something.
Cookies and cream milkshake. Come on, them shits is good.
I feel like Haruhi like is a strawberry milkshake though.
I feel like that's doing a disservice to like the kind of that metaphor is just like, I don't know. Haruhi to me is like a 12-course meal. That's where I live. That's my food for the rest of my life.
Yeah, but you might be emotionally invested in that. You might love Haruhi.
I mean, Haruhi is an experience in itself. I mean, the first time experiencing the endless loop.
Oh God.
Like, sure. I was just like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, it's that's what Yana was saying, with it being more, less approachable, certainly,
right.
And more experimental. There's a lot that's like goes unsaid in RE, and that's it's doing a lot of really cool stuff. And Chunibyo doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. It doesn't need to. It doesn't have to be that. But then it does suffer from that. Like, I have a display case with an entire row of Haruhi Suzumiya figures. I literally have all the novels downstairs in my bookshelf. It's like there's a reason why I have that, and not the Chunibyo ones, right?
Because you're a $5 milkshake guy. You're not a Happy Meal guy.
I guess taste is that simple, right? I don't know.
In like I think like honestly, like Haruhi is probably better. It is better.
It's definitely high up on a pedestal.
But I think I would if I had to sit down like into my head and like, what am I going to watch it and like for fun? I'm going to Chunibyo more so than I'm going to Haruhi. And I think the strength of it is not necessarily the main pair. Like, I think Rika, like, she's great. She's fantastic. She's adorable. She's not quite Haruhi, and that's no shame, because who is? Right. But I think like the B cast in terms of like the 𝓁𝒃𝒧ori and the Mori Summers and those guys. Like, I could watch like 𝓁𝒃𝒧ori and Mori just fucking bouncing off each other.
Their chemistry
every
together
day. They need a movie.
Pretty hilarious. Yeah.
Oh my God. And I compare that to like Yuki Nagato is like, it's like Rei Ayanami, right? It's like, that's a cool character, but is she like making me like blow milk out of my nose? Metaphorically, of course.
But on the same hand, I would like say the exact opposite of that statement. Like, I would choose Yuki Nagato over Mori Summers and 𝓁𝒃𝒧ori every day of the week, because of like the very subtle things in Disappearance about how she, portrays, and all the subtlety, and like when she hands the club form, Kyon hands the club form back to her in Disappearance, and she's shaking, and or the poem or the story that she writes in one of the Haruhi novels when she has to write it for the literature club, and it's like this big metaphor about her dying and everybody helping her out, and you're like, wow, that's deep, and there's like a lot going on with her, and that's the stuff that I latch onto, and that's the stuff you're not going to see necessarily in 𝓁𝒃𝒧ori and Mori Summers.
Now, I hear you, but giant battle pigtails. Like,
yeah, right. I lost my rule of cool somewhere along the line, and I have never been able to appreciate it ever again. So that's my mistake.
Fake Mori Summers. Oh my God, dude, 𝓁𝒃𝒧ori. She like, I fucking love 𝓁𝒃𝒧ori, dude. Top 10 anime character.
She's cute.
Oh,
really?
She's so funny. She's so cute. She's adorable.
Yeah.
She is adorable. She's really good.
And it's just, I don't know. It's like she's like Rika without any of the depth, turn up to 11, and it's just fucking hilarious. Yeah. I remember like during the movie in season 2, you're just like, oh, where's 𝓁𝒃𝒧ori? Where's 𝓁𝒃𝒧ori? It's like, because And even when she comes into it in episode 3, it's just like, it's like there's a certain rightness. And this is actually, I should mention the other characters too. Kumin is very enjoyable as well.
Okay.
She is like she gives me what's the blonde girl in KyoAni?
Mugi.
Mugi, yeah, she gives me such Mugi
Pickled
vibes.
brows.
Yeah, like Mugi mixed with like Kiori from Sound Euphonium. So like character wise, she looks like Kiori, but she's got like that Mugi spirit energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I actually kind of forgot how good she was, because she's like probably like one of the more forgettable elements of the characters.
Well, because she's sleeping all the time,
yeah.
and like
she doesn't have any issues.
She's funny. She's
funny.
Like
her character doesn't really have a role until like the very end. Yeah. So,
well, I sort of see her like the Mugi thing, where she's sort of like endlessly sort of like, yeah, okay, to everything. Where maybe other people will be like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah,
she's sort of like, yeah.
It is actually really funny, like during the school festival when Yuta's friend like confesses, like, will you go out with me, Kumin? And she's sleeping in the freaking like bed, and she's like literally sleeping, and she's like, no, thank you.
There are some good jokes.
It's like, okay, no, thank you.
I love Kumin. The moment I was like, oh, I forgot how good she was literally like about 2 minutes after she came back into it, when they were finding her cat. And we got the first sort of battle sequence between Rika and her sister.
Yes.
In Yuta's room, and Kumin and Yuta are like reacting to it, and it's in slow motion.
Love it. Love Rika's sister.
Rika sort of like breaks his bookshelf trying to like do a spin. Kumin's just sort of like in super slow motion. Meanwhile, like Yuta's having like an aneurysm. I was just like, oh yes, give it to me, because that joke. I just think they do it so well, and it never got old for me. Is the we kind of oscillate between this like, oh, this could be like Faith Grand Order, you know, and then you kind of pan out and you get like Kumin and Yuta's perspective, where it's like, you know, Rika, who's this like incredibly uncoordinated person waving an umbrella around, and you're just like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, that joke, that visual sort of like, what do you call it? Contrast between like what's going on like in the anime version, let's say, as opposed to what the other characters are actually seeing.
Yeah,
it's just, it hits me every time. I thought it was so funny, and because they have a massive production value and they have an incredible talented team of like animators, it just looks so fucking good.
Yeah.
That I think that you know what it reminds me of? Shout out to our Nishijo episode. That it reminds me of that in the way that joke only works if the production values are as elaborate as they are for the fight scenes. You know, and they play that joke again and again, and there's some really good physical comedy. Like I do enjoy a lot of the minute-to-minute stuff and the clippable stuff and the memes. But I don't know. In some ways, it kind of just. I'm like, yeah, that's funny, but it doesn't sell me.
Okay, yeah, well, I think it's sort of like, I think it's like a lot of I just think it's quite a comedy, right? Where it's like maybe not necessarily like,
see,
I thought a soul comedy, more so. It's like, oh, we're just gonna hit you with gag after gag after gag, right? And we're gonna get you eventually, because we're hitting you at such a volume. It's like. One of the, like, if you hit like at the rate they're sort of throwing humor at, like jokes at you or comedic moments, I would say if like 1 in 3 hit you, it's like that's a lot of you're laughing a lot through an episode, right?
And I will say that 1 in 3 hit me, yes, but I will also say that if you told me to label Chunibyo, I would say this is a romance, and that is honestly how I found it the most enjoyable.
Yeah, like I think I go comedy first. Like comedy,
I
romance.
think that shows our difference, honestly.
The romance in Chunibyo sneaks up on you. It doesn't happen until pretty much in like the middle of the show and stuff, and that's kind of when you see Yuta and Rika interacting, especially when they go back to her hometown and all that. And you know, Rika's sister is telling Yuta like, I need your help in trying to get Rika to get past. I don't know if you want to do spoilers or anything like that.
Spoilers
all the way through.
But the reason why Rika is the way she is because, her father passed away. So, and she's trying to find the dimension or whatever she calls it in the show so that she can see him again. But obviously, she's not going to be able to see him again because he is past. Like, he's not part of the world that she's in right now. So
yeah. All that stuff around the dead father, I thought that was good and engaging. Or I liked the way that we are meant to believe that Rika's Chunibyo is just this natural inherent thing and her quality about her being immature, right? And then we get the backstory with the beyond the boundary, not beyond the boundary. That's another Kyoto. Not going there, but the boundary lines and the agency, and then looking at the lights across the water, and you're like, oh, okay, her dad died when she was real little, and this is her coping mechanism. And then we're working through all that, and the romance is running parallel to this, and I think what the fuck's his name? Yuta.
Dark Flame Master. He prefers Dark
Flame Master.
Yeah, Yuta's really good throughout that. He's like a really supportive boyfriend. He's like actually really. I'm like, okay.
He feels sympathy for her after being handed this information on what happened to Rika's past. So now he actually feels like, wait, is this the right thing to do to get Rika out of her Chunibyo phase? Like, like, should I really actually help them get her out of her Chunibyo phase? Like,
so there's like this parsing, right? Like, there's this thing where Yuta is talking about like doing that of snapping her out of it, and like the whole thing of living with her mom and reconciling with her family, etc., come back to the real world, get out of your and it's like this arc, but this arc piece, like episode 9 or 10 or whenever Yuta says to Dekamori, it's all fucking fake. Wake up, open your eyes, and she's like, I know it's fake.
I know.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. You know what? That was emotionally effective for me. That was an emotionally effective scene.
That's the scene, right?
That came out of nowhere,
scene, right? Yeah. And it's really good because it's tied in emotionally with Yuta's budding relationship with Rika, because Rika's leaving to go back to her mother, and it's like, after spending time with her, and that's that big scene where they spend the night together, not spend the night together, but spend the night together.
That's for the movie.
Oh yeah, does that happen in the movie?
Well, it's basically the whole plot of the movie. They run away. They run away together in the movie.
Pinkies.
No, the intention in the movie is that they're going to have sex.
Oh,
and it's like,
but
they're like running away to like be together. So they get in the hotel room and all this stuff. And it's sort of this madcap dash to
Things get spicy in the movie.
No, they don't.
Then.
They don't. Spoiler.
Okay.
I was there for the sex, but it didn't happen.
It's
like, I sat through 2 seasons and a movie, and they didn't bump
fucking season 3 doesn't go there, man. I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah. Wait, you said but who though? Who?
Oh, you know who? Come on.
Yeah, Natsuki and Yuko.
I don't want what the heck is his face? No,
we don't know his name. That's the thing. You know who we're talking about.
Yeah, you know.
It's not the guy from Tamako Market, but he looks like him.
Give me some nose flicks between girls instead. What are we talking about? Oh, okay. Chunibyo. So then you see that this peaks in like episode 10, 9 or 10, and then you have these 2 episodes of like the reconciliation, where we learn that Rika's whole thing was not just her dad being dead and her doing that, but that she admired Dark Flame Master when he was out and he was being confident and fun on his own.
How could you not, right? How could you not? I kind of liked how they tied it all together. It was sort of like, okay, yeah, sure, like,
really,
it's just like, I don't know. I was kind of rooting for the Chunibyo thing anyway. Does that make sense? Like, I think it's something inherently sort of like sad with the fact that you have to like you kind of have to grow out of that, if that makes sense.
And that's the message of the show, right? Ultimately,
and sort of like bring it all back to that sort of like, oh yeah, like there's all this tragedy, and that sort of comes into it as well, like your personal sort of experiences, but just like, you know, it's cool to be like a complete fucking loser, you know. Or a Chunibyo.
I have a quote. Are you ready for this quote? It's from the movie Almost Famous.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like, synapse is fired. Boundary break.
Reality reject.
I just love the world building.
Reality and substitute my own. That's from no, it's from Philip Seymour Hoffman. He says, the only currency in this bankrupt world is that which you share with someone when you're uncool.
Oof.
And that is Chunibyo in a nutshell.
Lester Banks.
Lester Banks. You knew the character's name, God.
Dude, I was like, I think I might be able to get this quote, man, because that movie is eminently quotable. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's a good movie.
That's the guitar solo is transcendent.
He has you on the top of a garage saying, I am a golden god. I didn't say that. Did I say that?
You could live in our basement.
Man, I love that film.
Great movie. That actually had an anniversary too recently.
Oh, did it?
I believe so, yeah. I think it was like they released it, or they did like a cinema run for it. Did you
know? Okay. This character right here is named Penny Lane. And that is the reason why.
So it's not after the popular Beatles song Penny Lane.
True. Well, I mean,
Kai is referring to a picture on his wall.
Audio podcast.
People.
Yes,
yeah.
That's my original character.
Actually,
did not steal his name, Penny Lane.
Danny's actually lying. It's not on his wall. It's a big picture on his chest.
Yeah, for my tattoo. Hold on. Yeah.
It's a tattoo.
Get your OCs tattooed on yourself, people.
You'll never regret it. That is a Chunibyo
thing. What I want to say about the story and the character arcs of Chunibyo is that I respect the series composition by the scriptwriter Juki Haneda. This person wrote, can you guess the two references I wrote that you can guess because you can see the document, but this person also wrote Hibike Euphonium, and they also wrote A Place Further Than the Universe. So they get character drama, and I think you see
favorite.
That.
Yeah. Shit, dude. How do you not love Chunibyo just for like, you know?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I do love that thing that they do with the character drama. It's just like, you know, when you were talking about Dekamori Des and Kumin and Mori Summers, like they don't do anything for that. Like there's a lot of the show that's just not that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's sort of the balance of it, right? Where they're sort of like, we have to have enough on brand sort of irreverence.
Yeah. That
our fans like have come to expect, would say.
Totally.
You know,
totally.
with like because we are the show, we are the series, the studio that made, you know, the Melancholy and Clannad and all these sort of like emotionally affecting shows, but we also made K-On!, goddammit, you know. And I guess at this point Nishijo was already out as well, so like we have like it was almost like I genuinely feel like this is the most Kyoto Animation show because it sort of like is a little bit of everything. It's almost like an omnibus, right? Where it's like, oh, we have like
a microcosm, a cornucopia. Yeah.
And that's why I think it's like it's almost for like the real ones, if that makes sense. Because you know, you're like, if you like this one, then you like KyoAni, because this one is like elements of everything, but it doesn't like maybe hit the same sort of like peaks the way other shows would, right? It's not as emotionally affecting as Clannad, right? Right. Maybe it's not as like well constructed as Haruhi, you know, but
it's not as funny as Nichijou.
It's pretty funny.
Okay. Right.
No, but I would say I don't know. It's hard to know because I laughed a lot during both of them. You know what I mean?
It's
and like,
definitely prettier than Clannad.
Oh yeah.
Shots fired.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. If we're going to mention the rest of the thing, it's the rest of the staff. Like shout out.
She's got
them.
the best beat.
Like,
she's got the best antennas as well. Yeah, Naga, take that.
Like we were saying, this is Kyoto Animation kicking it on all cylinders. Ishihara is the head director, and Kazumi Ikeda, not Shoko, is the chief animation director here. And the production values on all the cast. You have everybody that was working at Kyoto Animation at the time that was very popular and went on to have great careers doing cuts of this episode and fantasy battles, and it's just lovely. It's just lovely to watch.
this must have been the most fun show to do, right? In terms of like, oh yeah, because like I'd imagine a lot of animators are growing up sort of like watching like big battle shonen, you know, and that's probably how you cut your teeth, right? You're like, oh shit, I really like that sequence in, I don't know, like a Yu Yu Hakusho or whatever, and I get or like, you know, fate, like some ufotable sort of like Sakugagasm from like Faith whatever, right? And they're like, wait, shit, what, you mean I don't have to draw the club for a minute? I could actually have this like absurd battle sequence. I could do it. I could do it.
And you could do a parody, but then you could also like use that. Like, think about that joke where she slips on the bookcase that you mentioned earlier. That's not in any type of thing. That's like an animator created joke. That's like a let's put this in there just to have the physical comedy joke. That's like a, you know, we're not beholden to the source material so much. We can throw that in there.
Also, like a shout out on the animation front. Like the battles are obviously. Or the big Sakuga moments when they have the sort of like phony battles in their head are great, but the character model breaking particularly when Yuta like gets sort of outed as a Chunibyo or embarrassed, where they have these like, it's kind of like, I guess it's kind of current right now. I'm gonna sort of like age the podcast a little bit, but it's very Bocchi-esque in terms of just like, and you just have this absurdly detailed like artwork of him sort of like cringing. To some like there was one where it was like when he had the gun and he was like he just got so carried away and he's sort of like
and then he just like freaks out because it's like, oh no, I'm reverting back. I mean, it's the same thing with Mori Summer, like when that whole episode when she's trying to get the book from Dekamori and stuff like that, like she does not embrace her Chunibyo past at all. Like she wants to completely eradicate it.
So that's a good segue into Chunibyo as a topic, right? Like, and how you would feel about Chunibyo if you haven't gone through Chunibyo. I wanted to ask you guys, like, did you find a way to connect with Mori Summers or Dark Flame Master in their portrayal in this show because of some experience that you had with some type of fantasy in your head or anything?
Oh man,
middle school, going back to middle school. Let's hear it.
I don't think I had a specifically like Chuni phase, but I was like so into like fantasy as like a genre anyway, and like I remember like at the time, like, you know, reading a bunch of like the Wheel of Time and all that, you know, all the like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and all that shit. And the flavor of Chuni that Rika has is just like so like up my alleyway. But I don't think I was like physically acting it out to the same degree that she was, right? Now I do remember as like in elementary school, like yes, there was a lot of what she was doing. Like, oh dude, so fucking embarrassing. I remember like what was it? It was like I got caught tuning out, we'll say, in like the 5th grade by my best friend's older sister, and she like called me on it, and it was like fucking mortifying because I think I might have had a crush on her as well, you know. I can't, and it was like straight up like a fucking Chunibyo style like battle thing going on in my mind with a mirror at like a store.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. But whatever, it's okay to be a Chunibyo. Don't lose that shit, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
Also, like absolutely. I guess like, working with like with kids, right? Like you can see like certain kids are like, you're not too old to be doing that, or you're not, you know. I hope I never say that to any of them. I hope I never say, you're too old.
That's when you bring out your Dark Flame Master persona that you were practicing in the mirror all the time, and you respond back to them, and you let it know. That's one
of my favorite ones. Is just like to randomly make up shit for the kids. Where it's like, who's like, there's a picture of a crow, and they're like, oh, what's that? It's like, oh, that's Rikugal, the Crow King. And I was like, and he's like, okay. And they're like, who's he? I was like, oh yeah, he's the king of all crows, and he hates humans, and he wants to destroy the world. And they're like, why does he want to destroy the world? It's like, oh, because they keep on hunting birds. I was like, oh, where does he live? Oh, in the clouds. He's the master of lightning. You know, and they're like, oh, okay, keep going.
I'm intrigued with this story, sir. Do go on.
Exactly.
That's why I was like, the sort of like one of the things I fucking love about Chunibyo is how sort of coherent Rika's like monologue, or her sort of like fantasy sort of monologue is. When she starts spouting shit off, though, it's like, oh yeah, that tracks. Yeah.
There's a consistency to it.
It's a good world building she got there. It's coherent.
Exactly. It's like, and this is like obviously the thing, and obviously like the place you end up after watching Chunibyo, that you're like, yeah, it's just fantasy, man. Everybody, we all engage in fantasies. Again, to plug my own channel again, I have a video talking about the different ways we engage with realities, and like it's clear as day that there's nothing inherently cringe about engaging in a fantasy world, and I think we as people who watch anime do it all the time. So
I to answer your question, Kai, about having a Chunibyo phase, like I don't think, I mean, as a kid, my friends and I, like we would role play, like literally role play, as like Soul-Calibur characters and everything like that. Like,
sure,
that's what we
potentially
did.
quite racy there. If I remember the Soul-Calibur characters.
I mean, we were like, I don't know, 10, like 12 or something like that when that game first came out. So, but I mean, heck, when Fruits Basket came to the US, I literally went through my closet to find pieces of clothing so that I can look like Kyo-Soma. Like I had a blue, like
I thought you were gonna say Haru, and I was like, "Fucking yeah!"
Oh no! I mean, I already had. Honestly, like my wardrobe right now is Hatsuharu. Like,
so you got that like black, you got that black Haru energy, or that sort of white Haru energy?
I'm a little bit of both, like literally just like mushed together. Like I'm definitely not that laid back as Haru is when he's white Haru, and I'm definitely not that kind of tsundere esque Haru, black Haru is and stuff. But like I think as I got older, I mean, the listeners can't see me, but I have fucking green hair. So like
really?
I'm
and cat ears on your on your headset,
and I have
right?
cat ears on my headset. So like I'm kind of like I'm expressing my bubbly Chunibyo phase in my 30s.
Exactly. I feel the same way. You know? Like, I have all my figures on display in my house. I'm not hiding anything here. We know what it
like
is.
I am
Real
a bona
ones.
fide nerd. Like I just embrace it, and I love being different. I always felt that I was different when I was a kid. I always knew that I wasn't part of like some clique in high school and even like in middle school and stuff like that. Like I always knew that I was very unique compared to everyone else in my school, at least like in class. And stuff.
Like this is kind of funny that we're mentioning this because we kind of mentioned it a lot already. Two things really quickly. One is on that sort of like feeling of uniqueness. My main thing I admire about Haruhi, and I guess by extension it's sort of like Rika and the Chunibyo gang, but mainly Haruhi, was how unapologetically like herself she was in high school, and like how I wish I had the courage to be like that more. Because like all boys Catholic school in Ireland is fucking repressive as like it sounds,
right,
with an extra. So like having the oh fuck it, just embracing your own weird and just sort of like having that. And that's why I fucking love Chunibyo and 𝓈𝒾𝓃𝑒𝑒 and I admire Haruhi. It's because it's just like, oh yeah, fuck it, you can just totally be yourself, and it's like, fuck it, I'll deal with it. I want to throw a hot take out, by the way. On Fruits Basket really quickly before we move out. I cannot understand the Kyo. I never ever got with him.
He's my favorite.
Everyone I know who likes Fruit Basket, their favorite is Kyo, and I'm over here like, well, Shigure is the best.
I mean, but like
Yuki
if we're really gonna go there, like all of the characters are great in Fruba, like all of them. I mean, honestly, my second favorite is Momiji. Like, I love that boy.
Yeah.
I love him. I love that. Save that boy.
Yeah.
I love him. So, but yeah.
He has that big emotion. Like you talk about that, I know it's not real moments when like, when you get Momiji's sort of like backstory. That's the he's the parallel to Dekimori, I guess. The little blonde parallel to Dekimori.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had to say I don't get the Kyo love.
It's okay. It's all right.
So Team Yuki always. Although, actually, what are you guys? Do you guys know what your zodiac animals are?
I am the horse.
The snake.
Tiger style, which
yeah.
in Taiwan is a bad thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's like it's just weird because like in Fruits Basket, the tiger is like this adorable little like.
Oh my god, Kisa's so cute and
but,
so
like,
lovable.
She's like not a tiger in sort of like if you buy into that, which I don't, but kind of weirdly, being in Chinese culture, like it's such a thing. You know what I mean?
I mean, Shigerai doesn't act like a dog.
Oh, he's a dog. What's with a W though, and an A?
Not that kind.
He's a dog.
That's a different kind of dog.
He's my dog.
That's DAWG.
Yeah, I fucking love Shigerai, dude. That's like the worst thing about that fucking Fruits Basket is the spoiler for Fruits Basket is is that he has to like tolerate Akito's presence, and he chooses to later on.
I was about to say, and they end up together, right? That's that pair.
Fucking, yeah. I don't know. She was one of those characters that never like came around for me.
I thought she was the best.
No, it's like because my favorite character in Game of Thrones is Jaime, right?
A Fruits Basket.
But, like I love a good character redemption.
It's fine. That's literally what happens whenever I guess. Like I have to mention Fruba at some point.
Also, the fucking OP for Fruits Basket, the original OP. It's one of my favorite ever. It's like
wait, the Studio Dean,
the original version? One was like was it
2001?
Stay together always.
Oh god,
love it. The English dub.
No, the English dub is just the Japanese one, like melodically.
Okay.
They're both
and Laura Bailey sings it.
Oh really?
Also, it's on the remake, the second ED banger.
Oh, it is a banger. Yeah.
Speaking of bangers, actually, this ED.
I was about to say, you love this opening and this ending, right?
That's a segue.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I mean, do you want to segue? Because I haven't even shared my Chuni story.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. Go.
Yeah, let's segue.
Well, no. Yeah, right. The snake guy doesn't get much time in Fruits Basket either, and I'm like, that's right.
Oh,
right?
but Ayame's so
the
great.
Snake guy.
I love him. I love him.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's like the most. He's got sort of Chuni energy too, actually.
Yeah,
he does. I love it.
But he doesn't care. He doesn't care.
He's also beautiful, like, so it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
He can get whatever he wants. Anyway, Kai, you were a snake.
What was gonna say? Oh yeah. So I had too many video games to ever be Chuni. I had my World of Warcrafts and my Pokemons. I do remember acting out like a Pokemon in type of backyard fun role playing horsing around thing.
Actually, can I ask you on that? Now, here's the question on this. In your roleplay, were you roleplaying as a Pokemon or as a Pokemon Master?
One person Pokemon Master or the Pokemon. I see. One person was the trainer and one person was the Pokemon.
Trainer, that's the word.
Yeah.
That's the vernacular. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what were you? Because one of those is way cringier than the other, I will say.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. But I will say that I would have LARPed if I had been given the opportunity. I would have been out there throwing sandbags around and hitting people with foam swords. I did do tabletop roleplay. Yeah, I did a whole Pokemon homebrew campaign that I ran. That was really awesome.
Because I think that's what you get the Chuni energy is like it really comes out. You like when you're D&Ding with somebody, and if they put a voice on, like that's
what I do. Yeah,
big Chuni energy.
Yeah, totally every time.
You have to put a voice on. If I was a DM and somebody wasn't giving me like a British accent as it just as Goblin, then like why are we even here, right?
Unless they don't nationally have a British accent.
That's
and
okay.
They're playing some British Goblin for whatever reason.
All goblins are British. All dwarves are Scottish. All
okay.
These are
the rules. We don't make the rules.
Yeah, all hobbits are Welsh, and literally no fantasy race is American, unfortunately. I don't know why. I don't know why that's a thing. Everyone has to be from the United Kingdom, but apparently they do.
One of my favorite things in all of fantasy is that whenever they localized Xenoblade for the Wii, Nintendo of Europe did it, and Nintendo of America didn't want to do it. So they're all just British, the entire cast. And then in Xenoblade 2, they were like, well, they're British again. And then in Xenoblade 3, they're like, they're British again, just because. Because now we could make them American, but we don't want to. I love it. my Chuni story is that when I first made my Steam account, I named myself. I was 2004 when Half-Life 2 came out, and I named myself Fear the Fireblade.
Were you the Fireblade?
Yeah, because I've been playing a lot of Roy and Super Smash Bros. Melee, and I was like, yeah, that's edgy, and that's my Sephiroth XX Sephiroth XX moment. You know, that's my Dark Flame
That's
Master.
so edgy. You might have cut yourself as
I
you
know,
were like
right?
inputting the name.
So here's the thing: is like, yeah, I've since changed my handle online. As before, you know, making handle online was the thing, and I made 𝓈𝒻𝓶𝓸 many years later, right? But I still you cannot change your base name on your Steam profile. So it's still Fear the Fireblade.
Wow.
Still the Fireblade.
Wow.
You
Never.
can friend me on Steam now if you want.
The Fireblade.
So anyway, the OP and the ED.
ED
Yes.
fucking ED slaps.
The ED?
Yeah, the ED is fantastic. Also, we had a thing we were talking about before about, you know, like good anime mashups. The Kendrick Lamar Chunibyo ED Poolside Identity is this is the fucking zenith of anime mashups for me.
I don't know.
Oh
My number one is Hidamari's sketch and Black and Yellow.
That's good too. I'd have that top 5. But oh my god, dude, this ED, because I always say it, they always fucking, the OPs are always kind of they're kind of kitschy and sort of fun, you know.
I don't know. I love
you know.
I love this OP.
This OP is strong, right?
It's so good. It's so cute. It kind of sets you up for what you're about to watch, especially when, you know, that chorus comes in and it's that like yeah, that whole thing comes into play, and like you just see Rika doing her thing, and then all of a sudden Dekamori is like doing her little dance in her little outfit with the little crown and stuff like that. It's not like, it's not in your face. It's very simple because I mean it's very like small boxes, and it's just like kind of like some sort of like animated slideshow,
right?
And it's I love it. I love
it.
It so
visually
much.
The way they sort of like segment the screen for both the ED and the ED, they're fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Like those,
I think
get your eyes
like,
moving. Yeah,
those super wides of each of the character names.
Yeah. I also really enjoy like in the OP when they're in their school uniforms and then all of a sudden they're on the beach, like,
or
that
they
segment
they run
when they're running. Yeah.
Guys, I don't know about that one.
No. I totally agree, and I totally agree that it gets you kind of like in the mood for comedy and the right tone. Right, I really like the song on the opening and the ending. I think though that what you're saying all leads to the fact that like this would never win a best opening award, or there's more artistic, coherent openings and endings too. Thinking about stuff like Chainsaw Man going off right now.
Yeah. Well, that's when you're comparing it to Chainsaw Man, where Chainsaw Man right? Just I know that like Chainsaw Man's OP, they took bits and pieces of film scenes. Yeah. Majority of them were from The Big Lebowski.
One of the greatest movies ever, by the way.
I love that movie.
the bowling ball.
I find it funny. The scene that fucking kills me in The Big Lebowski every time is when he's driving in the car, listening to Creedence Clearwater, smoking a blunt, and he thinks the guy's following him. So he like flicks the fucking blunt, but his window's rolled up. So he goes straight back onto. I've literally had that experience. And like, I didn't crash the car and find my like high school history papers, but it was kind of like, you know, shit. Okay, be careful how you flick away. Let's just say cigarettes.
I will say that I am a Philadelphia Eagles fan, so I don't know how I can't comment on The Big Lebowski.
Boo earns, by the way. Boo earns to the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's neither here nor there. What are we talking about? OP, ED.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
That I just don't feel there's a lens of artistry to it like I would feel on my favorite openings and endings.
Yeah, like Atomical Market.
Okay, all right. I was gonna bring up Atomical Market when you were talking earlier. I was thinking about it, but I'm thinking like, is it like baity? And I don't want to say this like negatively, right? But the thing of like Rika spinning her fingers and then her skirt, like her butt bouncing thing,
her little butt
like,
bounce, yeah.
like it's like memeable, it's clippable, right? Like it's notable in a way that it can be shared, and it's very effective in that way, and it feels kind of popcorny, kind of surface level. That I don't know. There is some good shots in the opening. Remember when what's his face Yuta is pedaling and then Rika is sitting stationary on the back of the bike?
Yes,
that's a good shot. That's fun. That's interesting. But then I look at something like Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, which I think is one of the best openings, and I'm like, God, that does everything.
The first season.
Yeah, the first season. Yeah,
okay.
Okay. Gives me a little bit more of like, man, you did the tone, but you also gave me some juicy stuff in that.
I can agree that there are definitely, at least in KyoAni, talk for like best OPs. This one I would say is probably a little bit more on the bottom compared to others. Like Kai, what you said with Ms. Kobayashi's OP, like that is honestly, so good animation in that one, and it's so fun and bubbly, and you know what you're about to go into with that one. So yeah, this one is very simple. It's not like wow in your face kind of thing. It's just very simple. I feel like it's kind of camouflaging on what you're really about to watch once you get into episode 1, and then you finally see Rika when she's coming down on the rope on the apartment, and that's when like Rika and Yuta first meet, when she's like in that cute little outfit and stuff.
Right. Did that moment hit you? Because that's supposed to be like this big moment, right? Like this big introduction of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl falling from the sky into Yuta's life, like very metaphorically and very very easy to understand symbol, right? But I don't know. They give it a lot of emphasis with the shot and the pacing, and they call back to it in later many times, and it's just like, I don't know that that gets me in the like magic and mystery and fantastic romance kind of angle.
Well, I mean, it's like I said earlier, the romance in the show doesn't play a part. No, it doesn't really hit me like that. Like this is going to be a romance kind of thing. I mean, I kind of thought maybe it could be a possibility that these two are going to get together, but it didn't really hit me in that way. It kind of hit me in like, this is the main character, because of just kind of how, because it's at nighttime, and the minute that camera points up at Rika, like the moon is behind her. She's like this majestic character that like Yuta's like, who the fuck is this? Like
descending from the heavens.
What is she doing on my like what is she doing on my balcony kind of thing? Like this is a weird girl. So that's kind of what I got out of it. So
can I tell you the one that did emotionally affect me was I think probably the way I thought the show was the best and where I was the most invested with the characters was when that same scene plays out with her falling off the roof, and then he goes down the thing and like grabs her, and then she like hugs him because she's scared for her life. Oh
gosh, yeah. Honestly, that's personally, I mean, I know they kind of that's kind of when the whole romance comes into play, because Mori Summer, she knows, like she even goes up to frickin' Rika and it's all like, you like Yuta, don't you? And Rika's all like embarrassed and stuff. She's like, and because she's in her Chunibyo phase, so she's thinking like it's like a spell or something like that. That's why she hasn't spoken to Yuta and everything like that. But you know, Nubitani, she's like, no, I'm gonna help you, like confess and stuff. So, and that was like the big kind of climactic moment where Yuta and Rika can like not like be together, but confess and stuff. And that was like kind of like a fearful moment. And it truly was a fearful moment because they were at any point of time between her trying to like hold on to the roof for dear life until Yuta got down to the third floor to grab her. She could have fell, and that would have been it. So
yeah, it was intense.
Yeah.
It came across for you then.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I knew that like when after the whole events of them going to Rika's hometown, like that whole event where they went back home to the apartment and they like spent the night together and stuff, that was like kind of your little hint of this is going to be starting to become a romance and stuff. But yeah, that rooftop scene was for sure like the pinnacle. Okay, this is going to be a romance now, and I'm here for it.
Can I ask you one other scene, if it hits you, either of you? What about the boundary thing where they're looking across the bay and the lights, and then the whole metaphor for the dead dad? What were you feeling about that?
You can go ahead. Sorry.
That I can relate to that because of experiencing dying relatives and stuff like that, especially at least people who I cared about most, and especially for like sudden deaths and everything. That was kind of like a form of relief, and you can kind of see it in Rika's eyes, like after that whole, you know, when Yuta became the Dark Flame Master and did that whole thing and showed Rika the kind of like lights on the horizon of the water and everything. Like she knew what that metaphor was, and that metaphor was like, hello dad, I need to say goodbye to you now kind of thing.
Right.
So
I don't know that it like came across to me emotionally. Like I got it, and but I think it did do exactly what you said, that I got that Rika got it. And I think that's why it was effective enough. I want to say two things about that shot in particular. First is that it reminded me so much of a scene from YKK, or Yokohama Shopping Log, which is this slice of life anime, and there's this like lovely scene where she
sounds
just
so familiar.
I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe.
I don't think I have, but that name sounds so familiar.
Yeah, it's like super popular. It's an OVA, and it's very short, but there's this scene of like they just linger on these lights across the bay as the sun sets, and it's like a whole thing that they really put a lot of time and effort into. And it also reminds me of the climax scene from 𝓈𝒾𝓃𝑒𝒹 Euphonium with the nose flick, where they're up on the thing, and Yada, you went off on that one back in our 𝓈𝒾𝓃𝑒𝒹 Euphonium episode, so everybody go listen to that.
What do you think of the bridge scene in 𝓈𝒽𝒻 Euphonium where Rika, where she sort of Kimiko sort of admits that she cares and she wants to be in the band, because like the lighting and the sort of like, you have the body water obviously, which is like the comparison, but how like sepia tinged everything is and how fucking beautiful it is.
Gosh, I need to watch 𝓈𝒽𝒾𝓃𝑒𝒹. I still haven't seen it.
Oh my god, yes.
Oh, shameful.
I've watched Liz and the Bluebird. My podcast did a review on that.
I'm gonna say it. Liz and Bluebird is not as good as season 1 of 𝓈𝒽𝒻 Euphonium.
I would 100% agree.
Because the best thing about 𝓈𝒽𝒻 Euphonium is like there's a lot of great things, but one of the best things, like the most rewarding thing, is how fun like couples are in the show, like how pairs are. And like we always said, like Reina and Kimiko, like the two main characters in season 1, are so like great together as a pair. And my biggest issue with Liz and the Bluebird is the fact that I vehemently believe they're better apart than they are together. And there's a lot of reasons why, and we'll probably get to it if we ever do Liz and the Bluebird. But Natsuki and Yuko, Reina and Kimiko, that's like the fucking juice. And as beautiful as Liz and the Bluebird is, I don't think it holds a candle to season 1. It's better than season 2 though. I'll say that.
That's true. That's true.
Speaking of
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was about to say, we were going to segue out of that one. Go ahead.
I have a segue. Speaking of couples, actually, what do we think of Yuta and Rika as a couple?
Oh, I'm thumbs up on that. I'm
Team
with it.
Rika and Yuta all the
now,
way. We stan.
Now, Yuta alone? 5 out of 10.
He's for sure.
And I said one of the things is that you're invoking Kyon, and Kyon is just so much more interesting and better of a character.
Yeah, so, I 100% agree with you.
In defense of Yuta, there's something inherently sort of like silly about him. So what I like about him is when he lets himself go. He sort of forgets himself.
When he turns back into the Dark Flame Master.
And that's I think that's his sort of like, I think that's his selling, that's his strength as a character. If we compare him to other, like, because again, there's something about like male Kyoto animation characters where they almost like have to prove themselves. And
totally.
He's not just like he's not bland, I don't think. Like, because he has these moments where it's like, dude, I said when he gets the gun and he's just like making the sound effects, and you're like, oh yeah, this guy. He's like this guy. How could like I like this guy. Like he's not Tamako Market likable, but he's like likable.
He's not Areki and he's not Kyon. He's somewhere in the middle. He's likable. There's stuff there that's interesting to him, and I really think he would be a good boyfriend and is very good as a character when he's with Rika. Yeah,
and I think because I think his sort of role, like it's very easy for that character to be swallowed up by the rest of the, I don't want to say harem because it's not a harem, but like the other club members, right? You could just be and like the whole thing is that he is the one who reacts to them, right? Like it's sort of like he's the straight man.
He's the straight man.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
But I think he's like he does it in such a way that it's not like that he can be funny too. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't think he's like I don't think he's a bad character at all. I gotta say, maybe he's not like an S tier protagonist, but I think he serves the role that he's sort of meant to serve quite admirably.
Say he's a C tier.
Yeah, I would put a B C tier.
I'll go B tier personally, but this is me saying that the best of these is Mochizo from Tamako Market. So what's the difference? Me? He is.
Mochizo's good. Mochizo's good. I don't mind Mochizo.
We're gonna get 2 Mochizo fucking shirts printed up or something like that. For the bowling team. As I said, it's the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing in sports, being a male character in a Kyoto Animation show and being likable.
That's what I'm saying. The Manic Pixie Dream Girl and the self-insert. This is the plague of the self-insert shithead male character and all these shows, wish fulfillment shows. It's like it grinds my gears. I don't know. It does. It really does. So give me somebody that's a cynical asshole. That's
his friend.
His friend. We didn't even mention
Ishiki?
His friend.
It's Sugahara, but slightly darker.
No, it's literally the same voice actor for the Clan guy. It's in the English dub. It's the
Sugahara VA. It's
Greg Aries.
Same role. Yeah.
Yep.
He's doing the same character.
But it's like
pretty much.
Like it's KyoAni, right? There's like that character. That character is not like a stranger to their sort of back catalog. It's like, oh, we have to have the friend who's sort of like hyper fixated on girls, but fuck it, in his dreams, right? Am I right?
Exactly. And then makes you feel rude.
One time, I really want like that character to have the moments. It's like, can we just get this guy walk up to a girl episode 1 and go, hey, you got a boyfriend? No, you want to go? And she's like, okay. And that's it. That's the character done. We never see them again. They just got a W and they left. That would be like, that would be self-aware of Kyoto Animation.
Or he comes back in the climax and
hey, we're married. Hey, I ruined my life. I got pregnant.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about Kyoto Animation romance, that it's just like because like it's anime romance is like at the best of times, you got to like fill in the blanks, because they don't give you much. But with Kyoto Animation, it's like even less so, where it's like it's so pure because it kind of it's with Chunibyo where it's sort of going for like a wide spectrum in terms of like the audience will say. It's like they never really give you as much as I would like. In terms of like, I think a nice moment would have been a kiss or something like that, or
totally. Or just give him, you know what, that character deserved his night out with Kumin, and having a moment there where Kumin actually like reciprocates, or at least feels something, or they hold hands. Come on.
I would have liked with Kumin would have been the Tomiko lovers scene where when Mochizo confesses to her, Tomiko, and Tomiko sort of like, and she sort of walks away and then fucking freaks out the whole way home.
Yeah,
like I think because Kumin is so like, she's Mugi to me, right? It's just like how she's so sort of chill and like,
she's nonplussed, right?
But have a kind of like a
North America.
This is another classic shoujo reference, but the Urban High School Host Club.
It finally like hits her and stuff.
Just have that moment where, and have her sort of be like, atypical for her.
Right, that would have been so much better. That would have been so endearing. Oh, I like that so much more. Oh man, now I'm mad.
But
it probably would have given Kumin a little bit more character, other than like literally kind of what she is. I mean, she's a plot device, really,
and jokes, right? And a vehicle. For
yeah,
the jokes.
A lot of like napping, sleeping jokes, kind of thing. I mean, personally, I think aside from the final climax with Kumin, my favorite moment with Kumin is when Yuta walks into the club room and Rika and Degamori has like the summoning circle.
And she's sleeping in it.
And Kumin is just sleeping in it and stuff. So
yeah, that was a good joke. I laughed at that one. I did. Do you want to move on now to our famous last part of our last episode of our Endless 8 podcast, wherein we do recommendations and a rating? I know that I have one that I've brought up, or that has been brought up twice already in this podcast, that I saw this show as more of a romance, and I saw it in that comedy romance vibe. So I was just thinking Toradora through most of the show.
Oh, yes.
Damn you. I thought it was going to be so clever when I said Toradora. Fuck.
That's why I kept talking to go first.
Yeah, Toradora. That's a good choice. That's a great choice.
But I guess too is like inherently KyoAni. There's, as we've said, so much of KyoAni in this show that take which aspect you like and then go off onto those other Kyoto Animation shows. If you want the more comedy, go watch Nichijou or K-On! Or if you want the more character development clubby stuff and that stuff, go watch Haruhi.
Yeah, I got a couple as well. High Score Girl, I think, is like it's not the most like one for one-y, but I think it's this that thing where you're like, they have like a bond through a sort of, I don't want to say like Chunibyo is like an interest, like a mutual interest, but it sort of is, right?
No, totally,
they're sort of like fantasy, Chunibyoism being their sort of like USP. Another one is like My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu. And I think Annie sort of like mid-teen, like early teens, sort of like anime romance of like the top variety, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You kind of like anything between like 2011 to like 14 that was like A tier, right? And I think Snafu is probably like, I would say A tier. And it's, it has the sort of like, because we're all moving in that direction at that time, right? So it's all kind of like for like in terms of like what you would get. I think when Supernatural Battle become commonplace is not a terror, like it's not a great show, but it does a lot of what Chunibyo does, But yeah, High Score Girl and Snafu, they'd probably be my two.
I'm gonna throw out here too in the Manic Pixie Dream Girl genre. I didn't watch this one all the way through, but from what I seen, it seemed like a more kind of serious and adulty version of the this relationship is Bunny Girl Senpai.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm gonna say another, by the way. Just for the iPad, just for the iPad stands.
Sure.
Or what about like Sword Art Online for the real Dark Flame Master?
Oh no,
because Kirito they had this had to be deliberate, right? Because this is a year after Sword Art Online comes out, and like Dark Flame Master is fucking Kirito. Like the sword, the jacket, this had to be a reference to Sword Art Online. It had to be.
God.
Come on, Aincrad's not that bad. Whatever, I'll say it. Aincrad's not that bad.
I will never say anything positive or recommend.
I was just hoping for like okay, as
not
opposed
even
to
an eye blink.
fucking silence.
Yeah,
like there was literal tumbleweeds going across the screen there. I don't even know where they came from.
You're talking to two people who are not fans of SAO at all.
I'm not a fan of SAO. Like I was offended by Alpha Online, but I think like in terms of like Yuta's Dark Flame Master has to be like a piss take of Kirito, right? Like, it's just so
I will
similar.
To amuse you, yes, I will agree. Yeah,
humor. I'll say Aincrad's not that bad. There you go. That's the only time we'll ever mention Sword Art Online. It's not a recommendation.
Okay.
It's not a recommendation. Fine.
We beat that one out of you. Yada knows never to go there again.
It's the only. That's like the definition of fucking chuny power fantasy, right? Like,
sure, you're right.
But
it's for the people. It's making fun of the people that would be into Sword Art Online and
you know who would be into it? The Dark Flame Master and Rika.
Yeah.
They probably go home and watch it together,
right?
And then cuddle because they do nothing else.
And they cuddle
because they're not. I was gonna say and fuck, but no, they wouldn't. They're too pure.
No,
for that.
the whole pinkies.
when she was like
their toes would touch and they'd blush.
this clothing smells like you, Yuta. I was like, wow, that's
actually really
that's
quickly.
as randy as Kyoto Animation's ever gonna get.
One of my favorite sort of like reoccurring like kind of meme kind of moments is every time Rika says Yuta. That's sort of like
it's good. It's good. Yeah. It is.
That should be a drop. Like definitely not on this podcast because that's too much like work.
You're saying a remix?
No, like a drop, like a sound fill, you know?
Yeah.
Actually,
so you
really quickly,
and then you
yeah. Another thing before we go into ratings, I fucking love the style of stuff like the break cards. The OST, the insert music is fucking great. All the little like accoutrements, they're really like this is like top quality stuff. The breaks, the OST, the visual and the visuals for the OP and the ED are very like maybe not like thematically as resonant as people might want, but in terms of like a visual setup, it's quite like it's quite stylized and neat. You know, the show is really like it's a graphic designer's wet dream.
Yeah. Production quality, production values. You can't say it enough how good they are.
And character design. Très bon.
I need Danny's recommendations.
Now that we took all the good ones. So fruits basket.
While you guys were talking, I was like kind of shit. Like, what am I gonna say? I don't know. Visually, my recommendation is going to be Pretty Boy Detective Club. Okay. Just visually, like, I don't know if either of you have seen Pretty Boy Detective Club.
Have not.
It's very pretty. Like, it's pretty to look at, and it's very similar to Ouran High School Host Club.
I thought that could have been a recommendation as well, by the way. But you just inverse it. Like Harry is Yuta, and then the boys are
right. Yeah. I can definitely. I'll put that as a recommendation as well. Ouran High School Host Club for sure. I'm going to throw another one in. Horimiya for the little romance stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I would say that's a much better romance. I mean, there's a ton of better romances
10 times.
I could
Yeah.
throw out too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one.
So yeah, those are my recommendations.
All right. So then moving on.
Fall in love. Another great old school OP.
Here, this is content. I'm going to give it to you. I'm playing it on the podcast. Shout out to the 𝓈𝒻e Summit podcast. But I'm going to throw this content idea out there. But best English dubbed openings.
Ooh.
Kiss Kiss Fall in Love
Yeah.
is up there.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
What does the Pokemon one count? Because
Yeah,
if it
but
does,
and Kirby
it's
too.
over.
Yeah, of course. Samurai Pizza Cats. Yes. Yeah, they all count. Yeah.
I'm trying to think what other ones I really like, because like the Pokemon one is just like that's like the answer.
Yeah,
objectively, but I like
there's
the
a
fruit
couple good
basket
ones.
one. I don't care what anyone said. Fuck it, I'm on the Sword Art Online thing.
The
fruit
Yu
basket
Yu
one is fun.
Hakusho.
Oh
yeah?
yes. Oh, One Piece as well. Actually, the One Piece one's pretty good.
The One Piece rap.
Yeah,
sure.
the original one I think is not bad at all.
Cardcaptor Sakura.
Here's one. Here's a good one. It's not a real one, but if anyone can find it, the 4 Kids Evangelion dub OP on YouTube is one of the funniest things you'll ever see.
Oh, is that? I saw the Kill la Kill one. That's a parody, though, right?
This is a parody. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was so funny. I'd say we're in High School Host Up because I can't think of anything better. I love that one. I think both versions are great.
It's pretty. So it's pretty faithful because, I actually watched the entire series of Ouran on YouTube.
Hell yeah!
In three parts.
Yeah.
Literally, yes, with the parts, yes.
Yeah.
And when that was airing, big on YouTube, like people would do English versions of like fan-made English versions of anime
Covers.
OPs. Yeah, covers, right. Yeah. And the one I wish I knew the artist who made the cover, but it was pretty faithful to the cover that I would listen to compared to like the original. So I was actually pretty happy like how they did it, and it really flowed with the music. It didn't feel off or weird and everything in the translation.
Shout outs to Amelie. She's the person who did this.
I thought of a good one. I thought of a good one as well.
Junko in Zombieland Saga, which I have to mention every episode. So yeah,
got one more because it was technically done in English as well. The Tower of God, the English version, the Tower of God OP by that K-pop band. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, the song is so good. There's 3 versions. There's a Japanese version, a Korean version, and the English version. I can't remember the name of
it's
the
by
K-pop
the original
group.
artist though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, because it's one of those Korean manufacturer bands. They know all the languages. Terror God is kind of like not great, with the exception of like a couple of like fun moments. But fuck, that OP is such a banger of a song.
But then you got to throw in
Stray
your
Kids.
name.
Stray Kids. There's the one. Radwimps.
Yeah. Because they do multilingual stuff, and also. I will end this.
Every Ghibli movie. Bam, 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 bam. Any of the.
I don't like
Totoro.
No.
Come on.
Stop.
10 out of 10.
No. I'm going to overwrite your Totoro with. I
gotta ask really quickly. Have you guys seen the live action versions of any of the Earn High School Host Club movies?
Oh, I have seen.
They're on YouTube. Oh my fucking god, they're so good.
I know of them. Yes, I know of them, but I have not watched them. Yes,
they're so good.
No,
but not.
They do the whole thing, right? They do.
It's just like this is our high school host club, and there's no doubt in it. But they're like real people. It's fucking wild.
I'm ending it with dubbed song talks with God Knows from Haruhi. So moving on.
Of course.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Hey. So let's rate Chunibyo Demo ga Shitai or whatever. Love Chunibyo and other delusions in our grand bringing out the big board of Kyoto Animation shows that we have ranked so far. There are 7. This would be the endless 8th. Yeah.
Oh shit. Memories.
So I don't remember where they all were. I should have actually
we have two S. We have 2 S.
We have 2 S. We have
2 S. 2 S. Nishijo and Senyophonium.
Hibike
Yeah, and we have an. Is there any A's?
Was it Clanad or Free? Clanad.
I think Free was a B. B for Free, and it was a B for Tamako Market, and it was a C for Munto, and Clanad I think was an A.
Okay.
And oh god, Miria Colors Phantom
World fail.
No, it was a D. Come on. Also,
it was a D.
I didn't say in the last episode. The fucking Miria Colors Phantom World OP is really good. That's a good OP. It's very visually unique. It's very visually unique, and the song slaps. They use that. They play into the kind of like you know, in the first episode we have a lot of like weird sort of like glitchy effects. You know, so it's like imagine like Chunibyo, but with like lots of glitchy effects and a male vocal, kind of like a Rad Whimsy style vocal. It's a good OP. You want to go first?
Yeah,
because I'm going to say A, but I'm willing to meet you in the middle.
So, you're going to say A
because you're going to say C, and we're going to go B.
No,
right?
I mean, I could say C for that because I really kind of more believe it's a B.
Okay, I agree. I agree. It's a B.
You agree with B?
I started A because I was like, well, if I go high, then we'll come back.
yeah, you got to haggle, man. You got to haggle. Danny, where are you grading Chunibyo?
I think it's a B.
It feels like the most B show that I could possibly imagine.
I mean, it really does. I mean, as much as I enjoy Chunibyo and rewatching it was just so much fun. Personally for me, I could probably rank it higher, but with all the other KyoAni shows that I have seen, Chunibyo definitely kind of bumped down a little bit, but I still think it's a B worthy rating. Just visually alone, it's gorgeous. So visuals can definitely be like S tier in my opinion. So
I could also see kind of a higher B because I did genuinely enjoy a lot of what Chunibyo had to offer, and I think I received a lot of the message they were going for, and I think it was done very well. It's just lacking in a couple places for me that hold it back from being something I would recommend to people, really.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with you on that. I know we didn't really talk about too much negative stuff on Chunibyo. And I will say after this rewatch, I did kind of notice some of the writing was a little weird in my opinion. I don't know if, I did watch it in English this rewatch. I don't know if it had to do with the English translation on how the writing might have made it a little wonky for me. So yeah, I can agree with you that there is kind of maybe something that's missing, some sort of spice that had to
if somebody came up to you and said, "This is my favorite show of all time," I'd be like, "No, it
really?
isn't.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
What have you seen? 2 shows? What?
Yeah.
I could see it this one, honestly, because it's so a sort of speed generally. It's like, oh, you have wholesome moments, and it's really funny. And if you find the humor funny, you know,
it is good. It is good.
It's very it's very it's so KyoAni as well, right? Because if someone says that, you're like, oh yeah, and you also like K-On and Hyoka, and you know,
right.
Mr. You know, there's it's I said it's the most KyoAni show. That's why it's a B show on the big board, but I would say it's an S for a KyoAni show. You have to watch this if you like KyoAni. This is the most KyoAni show. KyoAni. You have to watch this, and obviously, you know, it's got flaws. But it's not it doesn't suffer from overambition either though, right? Where
it doesn't,
you know,
and the flaws don't hold it back.
Yeah, I feel like the flaws definitely can be forgiven because of how much fun you have when you are watching it, because you have these strong characters that you're following throughout this story, as particularly with Rika in particular. So, because the story is mainly about her, along with Yuta, who's trying to phase out of his Chunibyo phase, but then in the end, he ends up kind of embracing his Chunibyo altogether again. So, yeah,
it's a good little story.
It's fun. It's cute.
I think that's
enjoyable.
The key thing, fun, cute, and enjoyable. That's
totally.
You can never. It doesn't have pretensions of grandeur. The way it's something you're never going to say, oh, it's so deep, but it's not.
Literally, Friday night in my comfy clothes with a blanket and like maybe some herbal tea and enjoying Chunibyo, just smiling, grinning from ear to ear. Like,
Sure.
It's like
this is my Friday night.
this one just like I find I could like it was almost this is over. It's over already. Like the episodes they're so kind of like they're so condensed and it's like they're fun and it's like
especially coming off Myriad Colors Phantom World where it was just like fuck God, I have to watch more of this. Oh my God.
I as I said I said at the time I didn't get that feeling at all. I had a weird sort of like, but there are times you're like, oh, like, you know, like I'm not able to do 5 of these in a row. You know what I mean?
Right.
I can't think of like an example of that because I find the Kyoto Animation show so eminently watchable. You know what I mean? That we've, at least the ones that we've done, or if they weren't eminently watchable, they were like short enough that it didn't really affect me. Like Munto was kind of like, ugh, that's kind of whatever, but it was like an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, I never really struggled for any of them on this list. And this one just, it felt like it was so quick and so fun and just so like
it is.
I have to compare it to Miss Kobayashi Dragon Maid in that respect. It just felt like a very fun larf. No, it lacks, if it lacks anything, it lacks in its lack of ambition. So it doesn't go for like the Haruhi sort of like, what makes Haruhi brilliant is where they stopped, right? We're not going to attempt to jump the gorge here.
Yeah,
we're like, you know, we're good enough being a B show.
Right. Yeah.
It shoots low and succeeds.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. No, I think that's but that sounds like it's unfair. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we're making something that's just, we want something that's nice and cute and sweet, and we succeeded, right? Because that was Kyo, especially at this time, that was their remit. Like they're not going into Violet Evergarden or even something more, or like Liz and the Bluebirds or whatever, or Koe no Kotache, right? It's like we're doing this, and this is what we do so well. Watch us do it again. You know, it's like it's like the third great version of this. You know. I love it.
I think we've adequately captured the essence of
Chunibyo
and other delusions. I think that's a real good summary of it. Danny, do you want to talk about yourself and the Anime Summit podcast and like throw out anything out there? Anything else to say?
Thank you for having me. First of all,
Pleasure.
Kai, it's always a pleasure hanging out with you and just nerding out and talking about things. I love just talking about things that I want to talk about that I can't talk about on my own show. Kai knows. Kai understands.
Sure.
Yata, it was a pleasure meeting you and hanging out with you as well. This was awesome. I hope we get to do more things in the future. That would be awesome. I am part of the podcast Anime Summit, and we just talk about anime, and I hang out with my 2 friends, Sam and Nick. I get to yell at Nick all the time, and our podcast managed to get 100 ratings on Spotify. Woo. And for that, as a reward, I had the honor to watch The Abomination School Days.
Oh wow! Classic bad anime right there.
Oh god!
Have you seen like Diabotic Lovers or Pupa or any of the other like Rushmore of terrible shows? Because I would say it's like Diabotic Lovers, which is a reverse harem shoujo, so it's like not, it's you can squint and pretend that it's like Fruits Basket. Pupa with School Days. And then like Black Cat, I would say that's like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Don't say it.
I gotta jump in here because
I love Black Cat.
Yeah, I was about to say Black Cat is bad in a way that is completely different than School Days.
Right.
Yeah, but they're all uniquely bad in their own way, right?
Yes.
Like
but
Pupa is not bad like School Days is bad.
I much rather watch Black Cat over and over again for the rest of my life than watch School Days for the rest of my life. So
okay, if we're taking Black Cat out, then what are we saying?
Handshakers. Handshakers is the worst anime I've ever seen.
Oh really?
That's not like a porn.
For me, aside. So I don't watch bad shows. That's the thing. Like if I am not enjoying a show, I do not finish it. So the only other bad show that I have ever watched was Aiken.
Yeah, that was the porn thing that I was thinking about.
That show, that it's an OVA.
Let's say show with big scare quotes on that one.
Correct. Yeah.
It exists.
That exists.
It exists.
It's a thing.
Yes, it's bad. So, but
That's
School
horrendous.
Days. Yeah, School Days tops the cake. It's bad. I hate it. I don't ever want to watch it again.
School Days is well made. I will maintain that.
I know we've spoken about.
I know. I quite like the directing in School Days.
Yes, correct. We just recently roasted some Mal reviews as our new episode, and next week, actually, Kai is going to be guesting, and we're going.
You say next week. 2 weeks ago, Kai was guesting.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Right?
Well, Kai. Oh, in the future, Kai will already be on the episode, and we will be doing 𝓈𝒽𝒾𝓃𝓄e Jeopardy.
Yes, we'll be hosting the Jeopardy. I will not be participating, but I will be getting these hosts to answer questions on Jeopardy, and look forward to that. That is a bunch of fun.
You got to drop a what fictitious realm did a eye patch wearing girl?
Right, I got to change one of the questions now to be Chunibyo just for Dannie.
I always talk about Jeopardy. Jeopardy is one of those shows that it never really was on in Ireland, so it's like that's the one you answer like what is something you answer in the form of a
form of a question. Yeah,
yes.
But you can find my podcast links.𝓈𝒽𝒻mmet.net. Come hang out with me. You can also hang out with Kai on our Discord and everything. It's so fun. We do watch parties, manga club, all that fun stuff. So, and we'll be doing a live stream in February as like a hurrah for getting 100 ratings on Spotify as well. So that's it.
That's it. And also that literally is it in a meta sense.
I was about to say, you want to say anything, Yada, for the Endless Eight? You want to thank my call out to Haruhi and solve the mystery?
Sure.
We got to do our homework.
I say, so this is officially the end. ... It's been a ride. It's been really fun.
It has.
Got to watch a few shows that I probably wouldn't have watched. Maria Color's Phantom World, Munto. Got to rewatch some shows and really rediscover how awesome they were. And I got to hang out with some really cool people. It's been a lot of fun, these 8 episodes. And who knows? Stay tuned.
So you will... Sorry to interrupt,
okay.
But will you be guys doing another Endless 8 next year?
We haven't planned anything. We've talked about things. We've talked about things, but there's nothing set in stone. There'll be something for sure. Whether it actually, I can say it right now. We got a video coming out like in a couple of weeks. Or probably around the time this episode coming out. It's a completely different kind of thing, but definitely be doing stuff together in the past. And doing things together in the future. You never say never, right? Yeah. You gotta leave it at that, right? You can't say yes, can't say no, because that's not baity at all.
No. If you want more, the comment section is open. The subscribe to the RSS feed. Who knows what'll happen?
Yeah, and listen to the fucking Sound Euphonium episode. It's
that is so mad. He has DM'd me like 3 times to inform me about the Sound Euphonium downloads for this Endless 8. The Sound Euphonium, the first episode we did. Struggling. Why haven't you guys listened to it?
Yeah, Munto has more download. Munto passed out fucking Sound Euphonium in a week.
Insane.
And there was like, and what was the one before Munto? Tamako Market blew past it. Free season 2 of fucking Free blew past it. Like, how niche is that? That's like the nichiest thing, other than Munto. It's Sound Euphonium season 1 for fuck's sake. Jesus,
we clearly don't have our finger on the pulse of the anime.
Yeah, ridiculous. Like what but thanks for everything though. It's been great because I personally the feedback's always been positive. And it's been a lot of fun. Every time we record one of these episodes, I've always been like
totally
because you guys can relate to this. You've done enough podcasts where you're sort of like you're not always looking forward to starting like pressing record and getting it on. But once it's done, you're like, shit, that was a lot of fun actually. And that might be the best one, right? I constantly every time I do it's like, oh, Munto was so much fun. Tamako Market was so much fun. There was 7 of the 8 episodes were so much fun. And then there's poor Sound Euphonium over there, just getting ragdolled.
We should redo it. We'll just redo. You know what we'll do? Endless 8. We'll just redo all the episodes, but only the shows that we've already done. No new shows. So we'll go back and redo Clannad and Sound Euphonium.
Oh, no.
The good thing is, like, from a perspective like of a sequel, we didn't blow through all the good ones. K-on's still there, Haruhi's still there, Liz and the Bluebird, Silent Voice, Violet Evergarden. Yep. Shit, man, the shit that we left on the table to do Chunibyo, and Chunibyo was way more worthy.
I was very surprised
that Munto made it and K-on didn't.
Damn.
Or Tamako Market made in Haruhi. Munto's fine. And Tamako Market is objectively awesome, as we officially decided.
Well,
it is.
I gotta say, it's been great for me too. It's been super fun to do this. And if you want more, or stay tuned in the future for whatever may happen and whatever may come our way. And let us know if you appreciated us going through this collection of Kyoto Animation's works and getting into there and telling all the stories that deserve to be told, and Kyoto Animation has shared with us over the years.
It's been real. Bye bye, love you, bye.
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 可愛いって誰かが言って